No one expected a man feared by the entire city to kneel beside a trembling homeless child in the middle of a busy daylight street. No one imagined that the same hands rumored to control crime and chaos would gently wipe tears from a little girl's face. And absolutely no one believed that this moment, quiet, unnoticed by the world, would one day shake an entire courtroom. Because 15 years later, that little girl would return, not as a victim, but as his last hope. Back end index pointing right if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen humanity. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness 2.0 Red Heart. The city of Los Angeles thrived in daylight, hiding its darker truths beneath polished buildings and crowded streets. People moved quickly, too busy to notice the quiet suffering around them. But Kang Jae-min was never like people. He didn't just walk through the city. He owned parts of it, controlled shadows within it, and carried a reputation that made even powerful men step aside. To the world, he was a Korean Mafia boss, feared, untouchable, dangerous. His name alone carried whispers of power and destruction. But power often hides something deeper, something unseen. And on one unusually warm afternoon, that unseen part of him surfaced. Near a rundown alley behind a convenience store, where sunlight struggled to reach the ground, he saw her, a small girl, no older than 8. Her clothes were worn, her face smudged with dirt, her eyes hollow yet defiant. She wasn't crying loudly. She wasn't begging. She was simply sitting there, invisible. Her name was Hannah Seo, and in that moment, something shifted inside Kang Jae-min. Not out of pity, but recognition. Because he had once been invisible too. Without hesitation, he approached her, not as a king of the underworld, but as a man who understood silence. He offered her food, not questions. Warmth, not judgment. That day changed everything. Hannah didn't trust easily. Life had taught her that kindness always came with a price. But Kang never asked for anything in return. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into something that felt dangerously close to stability. And then, he made a decision that shocked even his closest men. He adopted her. The city didn't understand. His enemies mocked it. His allies questioned it. A mafia boss raising a child? It made no sense in their world. But Kang didn't care, because for the first time in years, he had something worth protecting. Hannah grew up in a world that didn't fit her. A mansion surrounded by danger, wealth built on shadows, and a father figure feared by everyone except her. Kang never let the darkness touch her. He kept her away from his business, ensuring she went to the best schools, learned from the best teachers, and live a life far removed from his own. But children are observant. Hannah saw things. The late-night calls, the tension in the air, the scars, both visible and invisible, that Kang carried silently. And instead of fearing him, she understood him. As years passed, Hannah transformed. The quiet, broken girl became strong, intelligent, and fiercely determined. She chose a path no one expected. Law. Not just any law, but justice. She wanted to understand the system, challenge it, and maybe one day rewrite parts of it. Kang never stopped her. In fact, he supported her more than anything else in his life. Because deep down he knew she was becoming everything he never could be. But fate doesn't let stories stay peaceful for long. One morning, under the bright California sun, everything shattered. Police sirens echoed through Kang's estate. Federal agents stormed in. The media followed close behind, hungry for headlines. Years of secrets, deals, and accusations came crashing down in a single moment. Kang Jae-min was arrested. Charges flooded in: organized crime, money laundering, conspiracy. The world watched as the untouchable man was finally brought to his knees. And Hannah? She wasn't there. She was miles away, in New York, building her career, chasing her dreams, unaware that her entire world was collapsing. Kang didn't call her, didn't ask for help, didn't even speak her name. Because in his mind, this was the price he had always known he would pay. The trial date was set. The evidence seemed overwhelming. The outcome? Almost certain. But on the morning of the first hearing, something unexpected happened. The courtroom doors opened, and someone walked in, confident, calm, unshaken. The entire room turned to look. Kong slowly lifted his head, his tired eyes meeting a presence he never thought he would see again in this moment. And in that second, everything changed, because standing there, no longer a helpless child, but a powerful force, was Hannah Seo. And she wasn't just there to watch. She was there to fight, to defend him. And no one in that courtroom was ready for what would happen next. The courtroom was filled with daylight, but the air felt heavy, like something powerful was about to unfold. Reporters lined the walls, cameras ready. Influential figures whispered among themselves, already convinced of the outcome. To them, Kong Jae-min was no longer untouchable. He was just another fallen man. But then Hannah Seo took her first step forward. She wasn't the same fragile girl who once sat alone in an alley. Her presence carried quiet strength, her posture firm, her eyes clear with purpose. Years of struggle, discipline, and silent determination had shaped her into something extraordinary. And in that moment, she didn't look like someone stepping into a courtroom. She looked like someone stepping into destiny. Kong watched her, his expression unreadable, but deep inside, something he had buried for years began to stir. Not fear, not regret, hope. Hannah didn't hesitate. She stood tall, facing a system that had already judged the man who once saved her life. But she wasn't there to fight emotionally. She was there to fight truth with truth. The prosecution laid out their case confidently. Years of alleged crimes, financial records, testimonies from former associates. It sounded overwhelming, final, inevitable. But Hannah listened carefully, because she knew something they didn't. She knew Kong Jae-min beyond the rumors, beyond the reputation, beyond the headlines. She knew the man who never let darkness touch her life. And she had spent years preparing, not for this moment specifically, but for any moment where justice needed courage. When it was her turn, the room shifted. Hannah didn't raise her voice. She didn't dramatize. She dismantled, piece by piece. She exposed inconsistencies in the evidence, questioned timelines that didn't align, revealed how certain accusations were built on assumptions, not facts. She brought forward documents no one expected, legal records showing legitimate investments, clean transactions hidden beneath layers of misunderstanding. But more than that, she brought context. She showed how Kong had distanced himself from illegal operations years ago, how he had redirected resources into legal businesses, how he had quietly funded shelters, education programs, and rehabilitation initiatives without ever attaching his name. The courtroom grew silent, not out of respect, but out of realization. This wasn't the story they thought they knew. Kong sat there, listening, not as a powerful man, not as a criminal, but as a father watching his daughter rewrite his fate. And for the first time in years, his eyes softened. But the battle wasn't over yet. The prosecution pushed harder, presenting a key witness, a former associate who claimed Kong was still deeply involved in criminal activities. The room leaned in again. This could change everything. But Hannah remained calm, because she had prepared for this too. She revealed contradictions in the witnesses' statements, evidence of personal gain, hidden motives. Slowly, carefully, she peeled back the layers until the truth stood exposed. The witness faltered, and in that moment, the case began to crumble. Hours passed like seconds, and finally, the judge called for a decision. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Every heartbeat in the room felt louder than the last. Every breath carried weight. Kong didn't look at anyone. He looked at Hannah, because no matter what happened next, he already knew something had changed forever. The verdict came, not guilty. The words echoed through the courtroom like a wave crashing against everything people believed. Shock spread across faces. Reporters scrambled. The same people who had once feared Kong now stared at him with something entirely different. Respect. But Kong didn't react immediately, because his victory wasn't in the verdict. It was standing right in front of him. Hannah, the girl he had once found broken, had just become the reason he was free. And in that moment, the roles had reversed. He had saved her once, Now, she had saved him. Before this story comes to an end, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever experienced kindness that changed your life? Or given someone a chance when no one else would? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments, because your story might inspire someone else. Hannah stepped away from the defense table, her heart steady but full. She didn't need applause. She didn't need recognition, because this wasn't about proving something to the world. This was about fulfilling a promise she never spoke out loud. A promise born the day a feared man chose kindness over indifference. Kong slowly stood, walking toward her, not as a mafia boss, not as a powerful figure, but simply as a man who had finally understood the true meaning of legacy. Not power, not fear, but impact. The courtroom began to empty, but something lingered in the air, something deeper than justice. Redemption. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness 2.0 Red Heart. Because sometimes, the people we least expect to change our lives are the ones who save us in the end.